Oh, welcome, friends. Let's take 3 deep breaths together so we can all arrive in the same place. And 1, and 2. And 1 more. It is good to be here together. Now, if I am remembering correctly from my script, we have a guest musician this morning, Michael Margolis, who has been with us in the past. Come on up, Michael. Our first piece from Michael is called the Affirmation Song, and I think it sets exactly the right tone for the morning.
I was my own worst enemy. I made myself a wreck. My infinite potential was always kept in check. I'd slight myself, I'd waste my wealth, I'd treat myself unkind. To underrate, I cast my fate as sentenced by my mind. I was trapped between my ears, all my doubts and fears, like a cloud around my soul. I was deaf, I was blind, I was all confined in a mind with no control. But now I know the power of the things I think and say. So I clear my head of the things I said so I don't get in my way. I remind myself of my total wealth, my essence I affirm to unlimit me so my mind is free from those detrimental terms. I was my own worst enemy, now I'm my own best friend. Infinite intelligence is mine to comprehend. I am love, I am light, I am always right, God's whole and perfect child. And I know I will grow with a cosmic flow unfolding all the while. I am joy, I am truth, I'm eternal youth, I am forever free. I am that I am here and now, and ever shall I be.
Good to see you all here. I want to welcome you. I want to welcome our special guest of music, Michael, this morning. Lydia, our musical department director. The folks in the office, Aaron and Mary and Doug, and the coffee folks, the people in the parking lot, the folks who serve on the committees and the task forces around here, and the board members. I mean, it takes a real team to make this place go. But we want to welcome everybody.
Absolutely.
So we have some opening words.
All right. These are for Arañanto Ngoro. The piece is called A Presence. A presence summoned from hearts of all ages, whole and holy. They answered the summons humbly to find light. They saw, tasted, and lived the sparks and proclaimed the brilliance to the shadows. They did not brag of prosperity, nor tout their shining intellect, nor use some mighty gift of power. Simplicity of heart was their only gift. Now, the summons sounds again, a still, small voice for singular people whose honest hearts opened, filled with love for their neighbors, which is love of God? Do we hear the still small voice? Can we respond with our lives? Will we join the gathering ranks to reflect the light of presence into a confused world?
Our chalice lighting words this morning are from Peter Semjowski. May this flame remind us that every one of us can bring love to the world. May this clear flame be a symbol that every heart burns bright with joy, peace, and harmony. May the wisdom of ages speak to us through this flame and stay in us. Every one of us can be a blessing to the world.
My spirit was eclipsed with the shadow of my doubt. I heard a joyful noise inside, but wouldn't let it out. Inner fear and mute elation shut me down inside until I heard the inner word that would not be denied. Open up your heart. Let your feet let your feelings show. You believe in love, and you're prepared to grow together. Open up your hands. Let your fears release. Drop your weapons, shed your armor, face the world in peace. It's better. You'll see those conflicts as opportunities knock, 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 knocking from above. Good one-to-one adds up to good community with unity and love. Open up your eyes, see the world as new. See the light of love from your I love you forever. Open up your mind to a higher call. Inquire of the angels to harmonize with all. One family, open up to love.
So we continue with a reading. This is from Beth Kempton in her book, Wabi Sabi, Japanese Wisdom for a Perfectly Imperfect Life. And the book is down here. Brian brought it in, if you want to take a look at it. And the reading begins, Wabi Sabi teaches us to be content with less in a way that feels like more. Less stuff, more soul. Less hustle, more ease. Less chaos, more calm. Less mass consumption, more unique creation. Less complexity, more clarity. Less judgment, more forgiveness. less bravado, more truth. Less resistance, more resilience. Less control, more surrender. Less head, more heart. Brian?
In my welcome this morning, I forgot to welcome our very own Reverend Gail Mariner, whom we all love. And by the way, I'm the worship associate, and I'm Brian Fredrickson, if that wasn't obvious either. I want to introduce you this morning to a very close friend of mine, my briefcase. Now, I know my wife and my daughter are watching online this morning from Taos. By the way, welcome to all the folks online, too. But that briefcase has been a strong rival for my affection through the years. I want you to get to know her from her very bones to her fascinating life experience. And let's start with her birth narrative. Now, we'll do a sort of Thich Nhat Hanh analysis of her being, okay? So she's made mostly of leather, which means there was a cow, or is a cow, in her being. That cow ate grass, which means there must have been rain and sunshine, because without rain and sunshine, there is no cow, there is no briefcase. Thich Nhat Hanh would have said that he could see the rain clouds in the briefcase. Can you see it? And he could have seen the sunshine. And he could have seen the rancher who tended the cow in his ranch or her ranch. And he could have seen the truck driver who took the cow to market. And all those people who worked at the oil refinery, who knows where, that produced the gasoline that the truck driver put in his truck. And then there's the tanner who bought the hide and made this supple leather for the briefcase. And then there were the tanner's tools. And some of those were probably made from metal or some other substance from the earth, contained in ore, which meant that there were miners who went down into the earth to get the ore, which got shipped off to some ore processing plant, and then on to a metalworks, and then on to the craftsmen who made those tools that both the tanner and probably the rancher used. And then the metal also went into zippers and the frame for the briefcase, the barbed wire that went into the rancher's fence, which probably contained wooden posts. So there's a tree in my briefcase. There were literally hundreds of people that were responsible for bringing the component parts of this briefcase to one place where then it was ultimately assembled by one or more people. The Buddhists would say there was a veritable constellation of many dependencies that went into the creation of this work of art. That briefcase then traveled to some store where my mom and dad bought it and gifted it to me as a graduation from a gift from law school back in 1984. Today would have been my dad's 99th birthday had he been alive. Now, some would say that this briefcase has wabi-sabi. In addition to looking and being fairly old, I mean, it's droopy, right? It's tired. It's scuffed, it's scratched, it's marred. It's been unceremoniously kicked and dropped and tossed. Its rugged appearance is evidence that it has lived some life. And I want to tell you a little bit about that life. She's been my constant companion for over 40 years. From the august columns of Congress to more prosaic city council chambers, from the marble halls of the Colorado Supreme Court to small, dusty towns where courthouses were and where people just let their goats and other creatures wander the lonely dirt roads. I was a country lawyer. One of my heroes was Atticus Finch, from Harper Lee's To Kill a Mockingbird. Another one of my heroes was Abraham Lincoln, another country lawyer. We country lawyers would roam the countryside wherever our cases took us, and my briefcase always went with me. Now, many of my cases were contentious. They illustrated people's lack of perspective, many times their frustration with the system, their obstinacy, and in many cases, their inability to deal with their problems. Often those problems were of their own making. Some of my cases were utterly heartbreaking. Once I got back to the office and listened to a voicemail from an opposing party in a case who told me what he was going to do in the next 10 minutes. That included putting a bullet through his head, which he accomplished. And then one of my divorce clients, who was a Vietnam vet and suffered from depression, decided it was a good idea one night to play Russian roulette with his friends with live ammunition, and he lost. Atticus Finch said, "There are a lot of ugly things in the world, son. I wish I could keep them all from you, but that's just not possible." Of course, there were joyous and fun and happy cases that I was involved in, many of them adoptions, where neglected and disadvantaged children got a second chance. Many times there were stories of, or the stories held a glimmer of humor in them. Now, my briefcase usually carried a clean handkerchief for me. I inherited a lot of them from my wife's grandfather, dating all the way back to the Great Depression. I think I have. Talk about wabi-sabi. Once during cross-examination, opposing counsel brought my client to tears on the witness stand. So I asked the judge for permission to approach my client with a handkerchief. I practiced in front of this judge a lot. And he said, "Mr. Fredrickson, I didn't know you carried a handkerchief." Opposing counsel, who's a smart aleck friend of mine, smirked and blurted, "The real question is it clean?" They may have been old, but they were always clean. My briefcase carried all kinds of interesting items in it. Once I was packing it for trial with my notes and other legal documents, and then I tucked inside of it a jar of dog feces because I needed it as a trial exhibit. Now, I hope most of you have served on a jury. If you haven't, you really need to do it because you never know what you're going to see. In one of my cases where I was defending a guy in an alcohol-related matter, the district attorney, for his closing argument, brought in a case of beer into the courtroom and put it down in front of him on his table. When it came time for him to give his closing argument, he grabbed each one of those bottles of beer and he was popping the lids off of them, and they were flying everywhere. And the jury and my client and I were looking at him in bemusement. My client had testified that he had had a few beers one afternoon, but he was fit to drive. The breathalyzer was inconclusive, and the jury concluded that the DA's case was inconclusive. Fortunately, in this country, people aren't convicted on suggestion. They're convicted on proof of facts. Now, these are among the many human stories my briefcase and I have experienced together. But in terms of Wabi Sabi, there is one case, and I'll leave this one with you, that I want to talk about because it deals with healing. So I was a court-appointed mediator in this case involving two very large cowboys. And these guys came into this small room where we were to negotiate a settlement of this case. And they were wearing these big cowboy hats and, you know, those big buckles and muddy cowboy boots. I mean, they looked like they'd just come in off the range. And I think they would have had their six-shooters on if the deputy sheriff hadn't told them to leave their guns in their pickup trucks. Anyway, they came in and they sat down from each other across the table and they just glowered at each other. And you could cut the tension in the room with a knife. And I was about ready to hit the deck where my briefcase was because I thought these guys, they're going to come to fisticuffs. And then the plaintiff said something in his blustering that sort of changed the whole course of the conversation. He said, you know, Joe, or whatever his name was, this case isn't really about the money to me. What I really want is an apology. Well, that brought the temperature in the room down quite a bit. And they talked a little bit more. And then the defendant stood up, extended his hand across the table for a handshake, and he apologized. And the plaintiff, true to his word, dismissed the case. I don't think I have ever seen both parties of a lawsuit walk out of the courthouse reasonably content and conciliatory. Why do I tell you these things? I suppose it's because my friend here reminds me that there were times in my legal career when I did witness reconciliation, forgiveness, repaired relationships, of times when somebody was given a second chance. More often than not, my cases were about people locked in tiny worldviews of their own making, wreaking havoc on others. But you know, that's life, isn't it? Wabi Sabi teaches us to appreciate life's erratic nature, its unpredictability, its impermanence. It also teaches us the necessity of applying salve to the wounds that the world dishes out to all of us to help make this imperfect world a better place to live. Each Sunday we place 4 stones in our chalice to help us remember. The mountain-shaped stone prompts us to imagine a world where this place in which we gather, called in Tewa Ogapoge, is cared for joyfully by the descendants of its ancestral occupants, together with all of us who have come to love it and dwell in it. May this geode inspire us to imagine a world where peace is endemic, where war is understood as an acute and deplorable failure of the imagination. This ancient fossil-studded stone helps us imagine a world where human participation contributes to a biosphere that is vibrant and diverse and deeply alive. And finally, imagine that the vein of quartz in this stone, rather than appearing divisive, is actually holding it together. May it help us imagine our democracy where our differences are celebrated. These dreams of peace, of a healthy planet, of a robust democracy become realities as we and other good-hearted people around the world work together to unravel racism, mend generational patterns of violence, practice the ideals of democracy, and learn to live peacefully and regeneratively on our planet.
So we set aside some time each Sunday morning to share the joys and the sorrows that are part of our lives. We know that the joys are amplified when they are shared, and that the sorrows are easier to bear. And it looks like we have mostly joys this morning. The first note in our book is "Peace be with all of you," signed with a heart. The second is a message from our membership table. We welcome Steve and Natalie Curley and Joan and Jim Bellamy. They all signed the book and became new members this morning. Can we have a round of applause? And happy birthday to Connie Deschamps, who has a birthday this week. Happy birthday. And we have a number of visitors today, and I have to say it's one of the most delightful things about doing ministry in Santa Fe, is folks are always coming calling. So if you are visiting with us, please raise your hand when I call your name. Unless you're an introvert, then you don't have to, but it doesn't guarantee that we'll pretend you're not here after the service. And we won't say hello over coffee, okay? Just so you know. We have Kirk from Corpus Christi. We have Colleen and Trevor, who are from Santa Fe. Welcome. Nancy and David are here from Dallas. Yay. Sarah and Scott, also from Santa Fe, way at the back there. And Susan from Santa Fe. And Sherry from Washington, D.C. And it looks like there are a couple of folks who were shy enough that they didn't even want to write their names down. So be gentle, okay, when you say hi to each other. Can you light one more candle for all of the joys we've heard, but also for the many sorrows that we know are out there in our world and that we carry in our hearts unspoken? All right. If you would, let's sing Spirit of Life together. Don't think we have any hymnals today, so you can just listen. Or if you know the words, please go ahead and sing along. Lydia? On the echoes of the music, Let's move into a time of quiet and contemplation. I invite you to close your eyes if that's comfortable for you, to take a deep breath and let your body relax on the exhale. Let any tiredness or tension or anxiety or dis-ease that you might be carrying exit your body with your breath. Let it drift into space and dissolve. Breathe, friends. Or focus on the sense of your feet on the floor or your hands in your lap. And just gather yourself into this present moment. Breathe. And let your thoughts drift. Breathe. And feel your heart, which may have been braced and tensed against the news of the world this week. Let your heart begin to soften. Let it start to relax as we rest here together. Let it begin to open and to unfold. Let it expand until it can cradle all of the sorrows and joys and worries and concerns, all of the bitterness and beauty and compassion and tenderness that are simultaneously part of this world in which we live. Breathe, friends, and know that you do not have to carry these things by yourself. Let your awareness begin to sense the people with you here in this room. You are held in a network of respect and affection and love. You do not have to do this work alone. Breathe. And as we rest together in the silence, let yourself be held. The world we live in right now is challenging. It is filled with fractures and broken spaces, with frayed edges and dented surfaces. This past week was the 80th anniversary of the bombings at Hiroshima and Nagasaki. A great rift of a wound that is still undergoing repair, that is still tender, that is still not completely healed. Let us open our hearts to the grief of the world and hold those who are still hurting in our affectionate regard, that they might find solace and peace.
reading from Henry Schuckman. Sometimes, out of the blue, we hit a sense of a merciful presence within things. Somehow, this life is blessed, though it's hard to say exactly how or why. For the religiously inclined, they may feel there is a God or gods or angels or whatever supernatural entities they believe in and sense. There is a power of benevolence hidden behind things. Sometimes this benevolence may seem to want to teach us, to help us grow, and may appear in a guise that does not seem at first friendly, but turns out to be. We sense greater powers at work.
So I love Brian's stories about his briefcase. It's worn here on the handle. It's gotten kind of floppy and soft. But what makes it wabi-sabi, this Japanese term from aesthetics, isn't the fact that it's worn. It's the fact that it was cared for. It was cared for in that whole arc of its birth narrative by all the people and efforts that went into shaping it. But it was also cared for by Brian in his many years of companionship. What's worth repairing these days? Is it the worn briefcase, the hand-me-down stole, the chalice assembled from rusty bits of, all kinds of equipment that Ken and Gerdner assembled for us? When I was a kid, we thought lots of things were worth repairing. If we hadn't outgrown them, I remember my mom taking our shoes to get new soles and heels. She put patches on the knees and elbows of our clothing. We glued the chipped fragment back into the sugar bowl, and we took the coffee maker and the vacuum cleaner to the small appliance repair shop. Shoes and clothing and appliances were valuable. They were important. And so we took care of them. And when they were too frayed or battered to be fixed, we used the parts to patch and repair other stuff. Or in the extreme situation, we tore up the old jeans and turned them to cleaning rags, right? My mom's favorite chair came from her grandmother. It is still in use in my family. It's been reupholstered at least 3 times in my memory, and is still the most comfortable chair I ever sat in. When was the last time that you repaired something? Sewed on a button, re-glued a piece of furniture, even replaced a battery in something or got a new part for it. These days, it's actually sometimes more expensive to repair a thing than it is to replace it. Maybe because so many things are so cheap in the first place that we don't actually value them. We know they're going to wear out. We know they're going to break. We know it's going to be cheaper just to toss them in the trash and get another one. And we treat them accordingly. If things are not understood to be worthy of care in the first place, it's unlikely they will be understood as worthy of care when they are worn or damaged. When I look at everything in our world right now that is worn and battered and broken, our democracy, our relationship with the other countries on our planet, our relationship between classes and races and genders and cultures, the relationships between citizens and immigrants and refugees, the relationships sometimes between generations, between parents and kids and grandparents, between neighbors and colleagues, our connection to the planet, our response to one another in our day-to-day connections. When I look at these, I wonder, what happened that we have decided that all of these things are not worth the care and the maintenance that it takes to make them thrive? If we're not willing to care for the simple inanimate things, if we're not willing to repair the small stuff in our lives, why should we be surprised to discover that as a culture we have fallen out of the habit of taking care of each other, of taking care of our places, of taking care of our relationships and our institutions? There are worldviews that are good at care and repair, good at honoring the inherent worth and dignity of human people and more than human people and even more than animate beings. Brian talked about wabi-sabi, that Japanese ethic of care and attention grounded in Zen Buddhism, which asserts an animate cosmos in which people and more than human people and the things that bear the marks of their care and attention all have some inherent value and dignity. Robin Wall Kimmerer, in her book Braiding Sweetgrass, writes about the Anishinaabe and a Native American worldview and suggests in her writings on the ethical harvest that in an animate, interdependent world, we actually have to pay enough attention to the living but non-human things around us that we ask permission in the harvest and offer thanks for the gifts we are given. In both of these worldviews, living beings and relationships and places and objects are intrinsically worthy. It is incumbent upon us to offer time and attention to honoring these relationships. And guess what happens when we do that? When we are willing to invest care in the beginning and then to follow up with repair when we've misstepped, then ecosystems and communities and individuals thrive. But the worldview we inhabit, the larger one in the West, is quite different. We seem to treat the world as mostly dead, as an object filled with other isolated, disconnected objects, none of them inherently worthy or dignified, all of them essentially worthless until someone assigns a dollar figure to them. We live in a fast-forward, throwaway, consumer capitalist culture where some people are more valuable and worthy of care and attention, either because they have money or because they can generate money, which seems to be the measure we are most comfortable with. If that's true, then the dark side of our system is that it tries to turn everything into an object so it can make money off it or consume it. So I think it matters how we treat the objects in our lives. Because frankly, the system we inhabit wants to turn us and people like us and people unlike us into objects. What if one of the ways that we most clearly demonstrate our human status, our humanness, our core soulfulness or spirituality or consciousness even. It's the quality of care and attention that we are willing to offer to other objects, animals, and to people. What if treating even inanimate objects with respect for their utility and for the joy that they bring us can help us shift the way we treat everything? I remember when I first started studying Zen, my teacher at the time told me I should thank my shoes when I took them off at night and put them away. And I'm not talking necessarily about treating my shoes as if they are animate, or Brian's briefcase as if it necessarily has a consciousness. But when we treat objects with care and respect, when we make sure the shoes get aired and resoled when they need it, that says something about how we value the world and ourselves and each other. And our shoes last longer, and one briefcase is a 40-year investment. And it's in good enough shape that it could get handed down and become a piece of generational caring and memory. What if shifting the way we treat objects can shift the way we see all of our relationships? I wonder if we can take the time to care for our tools and our spaces, will that make caring for our neighbors and our landscapes more of a second nature? What about caring for our schools and our communities? What about caring for our democracy? If you have never mended anything, if you've never repurposed anything, if you've never nurtured something or made something new out of something old, why would it ever occur to you that a friendship of many years that's gone awry could be salvaged? If you have no experience with repairing a piece of furniture or a blanket or a jacket, why would it occur to you that a frayed marriage could be rewoven or a broken democracy could be mended and strengthened? Now, a few years back, one of our cars had a headlight that went out. And all it really needed was a new light bulb. But the manufacturer, in their infinite wisdom, had decided that they would best serve their investors if they made this a very proprietary repair in which you had to replace the entire headlamp, not just the light bulb. And they crafted that relationship in such a way that that work and that knowledge were only able to be done through the dealership, right? Now, there's a movement out there working on legislation called the right to repair. It formed in resistance to that exact kind of maneuver, which took something that should be simple and easily accessible to the normal kind of folk and privatized it as a way of creating profit. The challenge, of course, is that you only advocate for your right to repair something yourself if you know that repair is something that is possible. And as we look around in our culture right now, that wisdom is being taken from us. All many of the pieces of our commons, our shared patrimony, our deep cultural understanding are being dismantled so they can be privatized, like the headlamp light bulb situation. And resistance is going to be necessary. Given the moment that we're living in, I know it sounds like something small, but I think it's important that we actually practice the arts of care and repair to the point where they become the default option for each of us in as many facets of our lives as possible. So, of course, we do the tending and caring of writing the thank you notes and the get well cards. And of course, we take a moment and sew the button back on. We call each other when we're going to be late. We apologize when we realize we hurt each other's feelings. Of course, we follow the news. And we talk to our neighbors. And we vote. Of course, we recycle. And we buy secondhand. And we eat lower on the food chain. Of course. These are all baby steps in practices of care and repair. They are how we keep our community strong and healthy. And if we can practice it here and in our daily lives at home, it gets easier to find ways to practice in the larger world around us. And so I invite you in the days ahead to think about all of the daily practices of care and repair that are part of your life. I invite you to notice next time you have to choose between throwing something away and repairing it, between buying something secondhand and buying something new, between gifting something rather than purchasing something. I invite you to think about how you might use what you know of care and repair to help mend our shared community, our shared democracy, and our shared planet. May it be so. Leon?
Good morning. I'm Leon Winston. I'm here representing your Board of Trustees today to ask for our offering. The board is holding its annual planning retreat this week, where we look at what the needs are here and what we plan on doing in the coming year. And that includes care and repair of this wonderful building. Tie that in a bit. So we'll ask for a morning offering now, and we thank you for your generosity with your gifts and with your time and your talents. Thank you.
I got a song to sing for you if you're feeling kind of blue and you're feeling down 'cause you can't keep up with the bills and the Joneses. But there's some things you can do that will help you make it through. 'Cause it's not to be or not to be, it's how to be in harmony. Just meditate more, medicate less. Exercise, socialize, eliminate stress to be more happy. Sing a lot, dance a lot, play a lot, smile, do fun things that make life worthwhile, like being with friends or making amends, helping the world to be more happy. Do, 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 do. Do 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 do, but dee 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 dee. So eat good food, mind your mood, choose your beliefs and your attitudes, or they'll choose you. So sing a lot, dance a lot, play a lot, smile, do fun things. Keep an open mind like a little child. See the beauty all around. It's so simple and so profound. Just meditate more, medicate less. Exercise, socialize, get over duress, and be more happy. Do 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 do. Do 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 do, but dee 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 dee. Thank you.
We'll close and extinguish our chalice by the words from Robert Frost. Nature's first green is gold, her hardest hue to hold. Her early leaf's a flower, but only so an hour. Then leaf subsides to leaf. So Eden sank to grief. So dawn goes down to day. Nothing gold can stay.
Would you reach out and take hands with someone standing near you or seated near you? And we're going to do our hand-holding benediction, and then I have an announcement, and we have a short video for you, kind of as the postlude. So, may love and skill be in our hands. May love and courage fill our hearts. May love and wisdom light our minds. May love flow through us and walk among us. As we live our lives and work to heal our world. Amen, shalom, namaste, blessed be, assalamu alaikum, ashe, aho. So can you sit for just a moment? Thank you for joining us today, friends. We hope that you enjoyed today's service. Please take a little time and explore our website and visit our online welcome table if you'd like to know more about us. Otherwise, we'll see you next Sunday morning. Stay in touch and be well.